What's up, guys? I'm Doofus Mcdooface, and today I wanted to discuss what to do with your Mythium on Wave 1 and or Wave 2. A lot of people have asked me, and I've really never discussed it. I've never done a learning video. I really don't even have a good response, right? Doofus, do I snail? Do I kingup? Do I save my Mythium? Well, hopefully here I'm going to give you why I save, send, kingup. So, let's look at our options once again. I just said them. Option 1, you snail, right? You've got 20 Mythium at the start of the game. You can send a snail, right? Now we're going to send a snail into our opponent's lane. Why would you snail? For me, I always hit tab, space, and then I can see my opponents. For this purpose, we'll look at myself, right? I check the profile of my opponent. I will check the profile of my opponent. So let's just grab one of my opponents, right? And you have to do this at the start of the game. Now, I will say, at first, it's kind of difficult. You got to be fast. I look at their profile history. I see Chaos, a Zerker, won't leak to a snail. Oh, I see 2 skeletons. This will leak to a snail, right? I just quickly look through my opponent's history. So whoever you're sending, do they play Fiesta? Do they play risky starts? Based on that, I choose whether to snail. Another case, right? Like this guy doesn't look like he's going to leak to a snail, right? This guy does not look like he's going to leak to a snail. He doesn't, right? But if I had a start, right? I'm off by 7 gold even after sending the snail, right? If I had a start, I think Nightmare. Nightmare with Greed here is perfect. Alright? If I have a start that by spending my Mythium, right? I get 6 income from sending a snail. Or kinging, right? This works either way, but snail helps. If I send this snail, I need that guy to leak 2 gold. I need 2 gold, right? So sometimes you send a snail to help you get 5 workers, right? Now, let me just clarify this one more time, right? I'm hoping that my opponent gives me 2 gold, right? So if you're a Poda, or if you're a Nightmare or a Gun, starts that are just barely off, right? A Sakura that isn't with cash out, right? If you're off by just a couple of gold, right? Or actually Sakura with cash out, my apologies. If you're off by like 1 to 5 gold, you can risk sending a snail, hoping that you leak your guy, giving you an extra worker to build during the Wave 2 build phase. That is the main reason I snail. I'm either snail checking because they're Fiesta, they're risky players, or I'm hoping to get lucky. I'm hoping to get lucky, and their leak, their baby leak, right? If they build a gate guard and they leak 4 creeps, right? 33%. If they're the 2 skeletons we just saw, right? If I see that they could leak, right? And sometimes I'll even do it if I see no leaks, just because I'm really, really hoping to get 5 workers, right? Like this guy is chaos only. Well, look at that. He's got Banker Start, which leaks to Snail. And he's got Banker, which also leaks to Snail. So I'm just going to risk it. I'm going to risk it and send a Snail, hoping that he builds risky, right? Now, by sending a snail, you do give your opponent 6 gold, right? You do give your opponent 6 gold, right? So that is something you have to factor. So you might actually be giving them the 5th worker. So it is a give and take process, right? So that's our first option, snail. Aggressive, either trying to leak our guy. I mean, you're always trying to leak them if you send a snail, right? Because you think they're Fiesta, because you think they're greeting, or just hoping and praying you can get that 5th worker. Right, I need that 148 to say 150. If they leak 2 gold, there we go. I've got what I needed. The second option, while using our Mythium, is a kingup, right? A kingup is a fine start, right? It's a fine start, and honestly, any of the 3 are fine. Any of the 3 are fine. Why would you king up on 1? Well, your opponent never leaks to a snail. You're 20 gold off, right? You're 20 gold off from your next worker. You're not going to get an extra worker sending. You don't want to feed them a snail. You just want to play it safe and king up. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. If you really want to be technical, right? If you really want to be technical, based off the unit you start, right? If you know your weak waves, once again, this is like really next level, but let's just think it through, right? We're learning game theory. Nightmare is really strong on single target waves, right? Like wave 10, I don't expect to leak. Don't really need attack. Wave 6, I'm pretty strong. Don't really expect to leak, you know? But those waves with a lot of creeps, you know? Maybe a 9, right? Maybe a baby leak on wave 3. Waves with a lot more creeps, I'm more likely to leak, right? So I would go AoE in this case. Sometimes people go regen, sometimes people go attack. You can also just, if your teammate goes for attack, you go for AoE, right? Perfectly fine option, right? If I was going POTA, I'm expecting to leak 10, so I would definitely do attack, right? You also have to factor in your teammate's build if you really want to get particular about which king up to choose, right? King up is just your bare bones basic play. It's allowing your opponent to push, right? There's no pressure on them, but you're not giving them gold. You get your six gold after as wave 2 starts, right? You get your 6 income. Yeah, and it's a fine option, right? And finally, of course, the third option, right, is to save your Mythium, right? Is to save your Mythium. I don't like doing this, but it still is a really strong strat, right? What does saving your Mythium do? Well, saving your Mythium puts pressure on your opponent sometimes, right? If I don't send here, right? If I'm a nightmare and I don't send, and my teammate starts, let's say my teammate starts a POTA, right? One of my favorites. I start a POTA and I receive a 0, right? I receive 0 Mythium at the start. I'm kind of scared of a 40 cent on 2, right? POTA can leak, right? So there's also a couple different layers to this too. Well, let's just keep going, right? So if your opponent is scared of leaking on 2, they might not push a worker, right? So you're kind of in their head. They might not push a worker. Or they might push the worker and you could leak them with a DT, a Robo, 2 snails, right? So this is a situation where you could save your Mythium, right? Or you're just trying to slow them down, right? You're either A, trying to slow them down, B, trying to leak them, right? Those are the only 2 options. If you're saving your Mythium, you're trying to slow them down or leak them, right? And then they have to choose, do they care and they just push, risking that you're not going to send the full 40, that you're just going to snail king up, right? Because that is an option you have. Or are they scared and they stay like POTA 4 worker, right? And they overbuild, right? And then did you full send and they easy hold that DT? Or did you snail king up and they're like, dang it, I could have pushed to 5. I kind of chickened out. He got me. Now, situations that I use this saving Mythium is only against high-level players for me. This is just me personally, right? I think it could be a fine strategy. You're putting pressure. You're helping your teammate, right? Most of the time, you're helping your teammate because the opponent sending your teammate is not able to push those workers, right? Or sometimes not able. Because sometimes you just have a build, right? Sometimes you save on 1, right? So let's say I save my Mythium wave 1, and it turns out I'm sending into a Sakura. Well, see, a Sakura can leak to a Robo now, so I can't say that. A Pyro. A Pyro is unleakable wave 2 to any realistic send, right? A Pyro. It's unleakable, right? A Hellraiser, right? I'm just thinking like wild things people could do. right? There are certain builds that are unleakable wave 2. So you save your Mythium, you're like, darn it, they're just going to hold anyhow, right? And it really doesn't affect anything. You can just send the snail for income. You didn't lose any gold, but you do give them the 6 free gold where you could have king upped on 1, right? But yeah, me personally, I only do it when I'm playing like a high level player. Like if I'm playing a Drakir, right? I'm hoping to slow him down, right? I'm hoping he has a Poda or a Flower, and he has to respect me saving Mythium. But yeah, I think that's it. Oh, actually, let's keep going, right? Let's keep going. So you save your Mythium. So your option 3, you chose to save your Mythium. What should you do? Once again, very difficult choice. 2 options, right? Actually, no, there's 3 options, right? Option number 1, you're a dirty, nasty starver, and you don't send wave 2. You're going for a brute on 3 or a dino on 3. You're a nasty starver, right? I would almost never suggest this, because you've just lost 2 waves of income, or I guess 1 wave of income, right? But probably 40 Mythium. You've lost out on 40 Mythium, which is 12 gold, right? You've lost out on 12 gold, putting pressure on that guy, right? So you better darn leak him. You better leak the guy on wave 3. If you go 0 to 3 or 4, right? If you're going for really nasty starve, I mean, it's nasty, but it could work. Maybe your teammate's got an amazing build. It could work, right? Option 2, you just send income king, right? All you intended to do was slow them down. So you send a snail, right? You send a snail on 2, right? And then you just king up with the rest of your Mythium, or you choose to save your Mythium, right? But you're not going for that full 40, right? All you're doing is you're trying to slow them down, hoping that they don't go to 5 or 6 workers, or 4 worker, I guess, if there's some crazy bounty hunters, right? And you're just trying to slow them down. And then there's, of course, option 3, where you full send, where you see, oh, it's a Poda. Okay, let me go for that DT after income. Or, oh, it's a Sakura. You know what? He's going to greed. Let me try a Robo. Same thing with a Flower, you know? So you have to choose wisely what you want to do. And this is just as the game started. So once again, I hope this helped you guys. A lot of my games I snail on 1 because I'm that greedy player. I'm hoping to get that extra worker. Also, I'm Fiesta a lot, so if I leak to a snail, I'm hoping that my opponent would leak to a snail. I still don't think that a king up is bad, right? Going with option 2 of king up, perfectly fine. If you want to be a real pro, like I said, if you're Poda, like attack, right? Because you know you're pretty weak on like 10. Same thing if you're AoE, right? If you're a Flower or Aquas, right? You know you're weak 10, so at least go for the attack, right? Yeah, and then you could also just save your Mythium and sort of be a little try hard, and then from there you've got different options, right? Do you continue saving? Do you just go for the income king play, or do you really try to break them? Hope this was helpful, guys. Please let me know if it was or wasn't helpful, why it was or wasn't. I would like to keep doing learning videos like this. This seemed like a really easy topic to explain, and maybe it's helpful, right? So it was easy for me, but maybe it wasn't easy for you guys, and I just helped you guys out. So, hope this was good, and I'll see you guys in the next learning video from Doofus Mcdooface.